through 7. Michigan State's Jaden Reed gets picked up by Green Bay in round 2. Michigan's Luke Schoonmaker goes to Dallas, and DJ Turner to the Bengals in round 2. Kicker Jake Moody to San Francisco in round 3. Tiger baseball today, 2 games because of last night's rain out with the Orioles. First game at Comerica Park at 12:10. Second game at 5:10. Both right here on 97 won the ticket. NBA playoffs, Kings over the Warriors, 118-99, forcing a Game 7. Lakers end the Grizzlies' dreams, 125-85, winning that series 4-2. Stanley Cup, Stars 4, Wild 1, Stars advance. Avs now going to have a Game 7 with the Kraken. They beat Seattle 4-1. Carolina 7-5 over Boston. There will be a Game 7 there. Hurricanes 2-1 over the Islanders in OT. They win the series 4-2. At the Ticket Update Desk, I'm Jeff Lesson. For more 97.1 The Ticket or Odyssey.com.
Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We've got an unbelievable show. I'm Harvey Freed. To the right of me, Harry Glantz.
Good morning, Harvey. Good morning, everybody. Welcome into another weekend of Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate and Business Talk here, because the market is hot, Harvey.
Oh, it's going to be a good week. This is going to be a good show. We got a lot of digging to do.
Oh, that's the voice of John Kolb. John, good morning. Of course, John brings in Kevin Stewart, Stewart Team Real Estate Partners in Rochester. Hey, Kev.
Hey, guys. How are you? Good to see you again.
It's been a minute since we've had Kevin, since we've seen him around. Always good to see Kev. Good
Absolutely.
job, Kev.
Thanks, guys.
We did talk a little golf out there, Kev. I don't know about getting out there today, but maybe next week.
I'm supposed to play this afternoon.
Oh, well, you'll get out there, man.
We'll see.
All right. We got a lot to talk about.
Talk about drainage. How good is that drainage?
Well, we got always the mortgage rates and the buyers and the sellers and the inventory, Harry. We're going to be talking about the inspection things. And, wow, what a great time to buy a house. So it's good when it's raining so you can check out to see what's going on, if there's any water issues. And we always will put a nice little twist on everything, Kev. And tell us what's going on in Rochester. I haven't been out there a while.
We never put twists on anything.
Oh, we'll put a little
We just
good
speak
twist.
the truth.
Okay.
I like that. That's right. Right.
Speak a little bit of the truth.
Speaking of the truth, John and I, in probably the third segment of the show, we're going to debate, not really because we agree on this one, what the Fed is going to do on May 3rd.
Oh, I love that.
And we have some thoughts on it. And I will give a little hint to everybody out there. Rates are going to move in the right direction, but not as crazy as everybody thinks. We'll talk about in the third segment of the show.
Well, that's a little preview. I love that we're doing that.
Yeah, it's a tease, right?
It's a little tease.
Doug Karsh. It's a Doug Karsh tease.
This is already quality radio.
Yeah,
we're telling them what we're going to tell them before we tell them.
Quality radio.
If you'd like to call on the show, of course, buying or selling a home, 248-539-9797. We'll make it fun for you here. Ticket text, we'd rather you call in. Let's hear from you and what's going on out there. I brought my Sun Devil shirt on, trying to change this weather outside, trying to bring some sun here to Southeast Michigan. I don't know. It's been a real quick start to spring, and then things slowed down a little bit. But again, we talk about dressing up your home. Kev, let's just go there a little bit on the seller's side.
Sure.
And maybe squeaking out a few extra dollars on any home you might be wanting to sell. There's always things you can do cosmetically, of course, structurally and making your house really sound, but also the curb appeal is really important nowadays as families pull up to the house and you can't take anything away from that first impression.
Yeah, this time of year is perfect for it, because this is the time of year where everyone's calling their landscapers. I mean, I can see out the window right now and see some nice fresh mulch, it looks like, is down. Everything looks nice. You know, this is the time of year your grass is probably the greenest it will be all year. Right? It is. Most people's lawns are already perked up. We've got enough water, and we had a couple of nice warm weeks. Summer almost teased us there for a week. That was fun. So setting up the entry of your home is extremely important. It's your first impression. It's the first thing. You can lose someone on the walk to the front door. It's possible.
Love this topic. Harry hates this topic. I'm not paying for dirt, is what he tells me. I'm not paying for mulch, But hey, it's all about, like you said, I don't care if it's a house or a business, but when you pull up and you the first impression of when you're walking down that sidewalk and if I'm stepping over weeds versus walking by tulips, I like walking by tulips.
When you're walking by a freshly edged lawn, everything looks nice. It's that, blue skies and rainbows, flowers and butterflies feel. And it does happen. I've seen it hundreds of times. The reaction that the person feels, especially if you get that bright sunshiny day birds are chirping. That it's everything starts to come together, and it changes the impression.
I will say John Kolb and my wife feel the same way because they certainly landscape our building and our house every year and spend a lot of money. But
I do mulch
but
twice.
anyway, do you?
I'm that picky. I do mulch twice.
And then I know a guy downriver. His name's Dan Burke. He does his own mulch, 25 bags, and then he's crippled for the rest of the weekend. Okay, so. Look, I understand the value of it. I like the way things look. People are very visual. So when you walk up to a house, it has to have great curb appeal, or you work in an office building, you own a building, it should look really, really nice. I mean, I'm just like everybody else. I just don't like spending the money for it. But I understand whether it's just an intrinsic value or it adds value. Look, there's a lot of debate about that. It's a lifestyle. You want everything to look nice. But in the home buying process, people are visual. But the market now, Kevin, it's hot. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really, really strong right now. Multiple offers, multiple bids, bidding out of control, over asking price certainly is really what's going on right now. And I think that's going to continue. And then why do I say that? Because the numbers tell me that, and it's just a math equation. If there's less supply and high demand, and your average age of a new buyer is 34 years old, and there are more millennials coming behind that. That means that's the age range of 27 to 41 if the average is 34, right? And there's a shortage of houses, and there's going to be a shortage of houses for the next 2, 3, 4 years. That tells me we're going to be in a strong home buying situation for the next 3, 4 years.
Yeah, the biggest problem that people are having over the last 6 months, I don't think has anything to do with actual true market conditions. It has to do with customer perception. People, the news, the media, things out there have not been kind to us.
Right.
There's a lot of fear. You have a lot of people that are fear. They're scared to put their home on the market because they don't think they can buy something next. It's the same kind of stuff that we were dealing with last year, just the cost of money is a little higher. That's the biggest change we've had, but people are starting to realize that the cost of money is what it is. They're starting to finally believe us that it's not going to go back there. We're not going to see 3% anymore. It's just not. I don't see it ever happening again.
John, it won't happen again.
No,
we know that.
Absolutely not. The banks don't make any money at 3%, and you see what's happening with all these banks that are failing because of all the different notes that they have on their line. And not being able to get rid of them because nobody wants to buy a loan at 3% when they can buy a loan at 5%. 6%.
It was an artificial circumstance that happened for a couple years due to the pandemic. So the Federal Reserve took measures to go ahead and try to make it easy for people to live during the pandemic. So they just printed more money and didn't charge for it.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I've made that point no less than 50 times in the last 30 days.
Let's go. We'll do a seminar on it.
Which is
It'll be fine.
understand consumer out there. You don't want it to go to 3%. The reason is because of what had to happen for 3%. I don't want another pandemic. I don't want to go through that again.
Correct.
That was terrible. It was awful. There's nothing about it that was enjoyable. And the reason that happened is because of the pandemic. We don't want it to do that again. To get 3% again, there's going to have to be something dramatic and almost catastrophic to happen in the country.
If you take a look at a 50-year chart of 30-year fixed mortgage rates in the last 50 years, and you're going to see there's a 2.5-year period of time that was a blip, and that was COVID. Right now, with rates being at 6.25%, 6.5%, it's still very, very good.
Right.
And some economists think, and I'm not one of them, I've got the over on this, some economists think that by the end of the summer, you're going to be in the mid-5s. I've got the over on that. It's not going to be in the mid-5s, but if they want to tell people it's going to be in the mid-5s, fine, but it won't be. And here's the best part, John Cole. What happens?
Harry wins both ways no matter what happens, right? Rates go down to mid-5s. He's happy because business is strong. If not, he won his bet, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
This is how he does. He sidles the fence.
That's right.
What Harry does.
I want to lose my bet.
All of Harry's friends out there that are listening right now, this is what he does, and you know it, and we're all smiling and shaking our head.
That's right.
It's all good.
There you go.
We've seen this movie before.
It's not bad being right both ways when you're wrong.
It's not making.
Well, winning when you're wrong, especially,
Right.
is not a
It's
bad
fine.
thing.
I don't have a problem with it.
Let me throw the number out there, guys. 248-539-9797. A lot of you folks are thinking, should I sell? How do I navigate today's market? Well, look, Kev, let's go there. This inventory, is it excruciating with the lack of inventory out there?
At least up in our neighborhood, it's low.
Oh boy!
And I've talked to agents all over Metro Detroit. They're saying the same thing. I'm constantly in contact with a lot of other brokers, office owners, large producers, we talk. All of us talk, and we are constantly pinging each other to see and get a pulse on what's going on. And I'm hearing the same thing from everybody, which is that we don't have enough inventory. It's the same situation we were in last spring. I mean, it really is. And people think, oh, man, the market's going to crash. I'm going to wait. No. That's not going to happen. It's going to go up. I will absolutely make the argument without a doubt that over the next 12 months, the market will be up from what it is right now. I think that's without a doubt. So
that begs the age-old question, Kevin. What are you waiting for?
Yeah, exactly. People should not wait. They should do it right now. They should get involved right now. The spring market it's upon us. There is plenty of buyers out there. You can do really well on selling your home. And if you put together the right kind of plan, I mean, goodness, guys, how many times have I been on the show? And every single time it comes up, which is develop the right plan. And if you develop the right plan and put together the right opportunity and go through that in detail, you'll be just fine. We're not going to leave you homeless. I've never, in almost coming up on 19 years of doing this, I've never left anybody homeless.
Right. We
Ever.
talked about this last year, this year. We'll come back to it, but we're going to a break. Harvey,
All right.
lead us to the break.
We'll go to a quick break here. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. All righty, welcome back to this show. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation, NMLS 2289, Equal Housing Lender. You can find us all week at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. That's right. If you need a mortgage anywhere in the state, anywhere in the country, all 50 states included, call Capital Mortgage Funding at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Kevin Stewart joins us, Stewart Team Real Estate Partners. And Kev, I'm so happy to have you here because we got tons to share with you. But you know what, Kev? Let's go out to this first caller here. Mark called in this morning. Good morning, Mark, and thank you for your call. Go ahead.
Good morning. Hey, first off, I'm a long-time listener. I finally have a reason to call.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Awesome,
Excellent.
Mark.
Thanks.
What do you got?
I have an opportunity that came out of the blue, kind of, to buy a second property. It's my cousin's, and he's moving. This is lakefront in the UP on Lake Huron. Now I'm 63, so I'm getting close to retiring. So this is kind of a curveball. It's been in the family for 40 years, so I kind of don't want to pass up the chance of putting my stake there. My house in Brighton here is paid for. It's worth about $300,000. So my main question is, I was thinking of just doing a home equity loan because of the rate being lower, but I'm not sure of all the titles and the deed and all that, because normally I've gone through a mortgage and a real estate agent. So I'm kind of wanting to get your thoughts on some pitfalls we may be facing.
Well, Mark, I'm sorry. I was going to say, Kevin, we're going to have to exclude Kevin on this one, right? If you got a family transaction, right? So the number one thing you want to do is look at the rate between what you're going to be doing, threefold, right? What the home equity loan line of credit rate is going to be, what you could do if you pulled cash out of your home on a fixed rate with a 30-year, 15-year, whatever you're comfortable with, and then also what could be a rate on the second mortgage if we just did it as a purchase on the second mortgage through that. So that's where you have to take your analysis, go all three different avenues, and see what's going to be the best thing for you. The number one thing is when buying from family is just making sure that we're doing everything on both sides. I mean, we do a lot of these transactions. Fortunately for us, we're ingrained in the community. We have a lot of different people who come to us with sons, daughters, brothers, mothers, and just wanting to buy things and having to perform both sides of the transaction for them. We put you in touch with a really good title company that will take care of both sides of it and make sure that we get you going on the right path.
Mark, how much is this placed?
It's probably going to end up being $80,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a great thing for you, Mark. I really do. 30 years, it's a legacy thing. It's in your family. It means more to you and your family than it would mean to somebody else. And
Right.
I think it's a wonderful thing. And for $80,000, I mean, where else are you going to get that kind of enjoyment and just knowing that, the peace of mind and the quality of life that you're going to have? I think it's a great thing. I think it's wonderful.
Right. And I'm going to give you a glimpse of how we analyze this for you and put numbers in front
Well,
of you.
let me throw this in here first because I didn't mention it is a mobile home that's on it.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well, is it a
isn't
mobile home or is it a
closed, and it has a
manufactured
metal
home?
roof.
Is it attached?
No, it's a mobile home.
Okay. All right. Is it
But it has an
attached?
addition built on it, and it's all,
Attached foundation, everything?
yes.
Okay, and there's no tag on it? Pull the tags off, everything like that?
I'm not familiar with that.
A title? Well, we'll figure it out when we pull everything. I'm not wored about it.
So
Okay.
here's
Okay.
the number one thing you're going to really want to look at, right? $80,000. How long are you going to take to pay that back?
I guess it depends on the rate.
Right?
I probably
Well,
would. I
no,
probably
it
would
doesn't
go
depend
for
on the rate.
30.
It depends on how quickly you're going to pay the loan back, right? Rate doesn't matter. So if you're saying, John, I'm going to pay that $80,000 back in 2 years, then I would have you go one way because I'm not going to give all the answers on the air because the slappies that are out there that don't know what they're doing are going to take my information and try to run with it.
Right,
But-
right.
Right? So
I would probably take no more than a 15-year loan just to get a better rate, and then try to actually pay that off sooner than that.
Yeah.
right. So that tells me what we're going to do for you when we call you after the show.
Mark, here's a skinny too. Again, if it was a manufactured home, like a double wide that was on a permanent foundation, then there's mortgages available for you. If it's not and it's way old and the tags are old and this thing's built before 76 and it's been in the family forever, so I
And
got
it's on snow tires?
Yeah, if it's one of the older buildings, and again, it works for your family. Everyone goes up there and enjoys it. You're doing tents around. People are bringing the whole family comes up, brings their campers. It's a lot of fun. Like John said, those three choices: home equity loan, taking the equity out of your house, potentially just getting a mortgage straight up if it's mortgageable. And I think those are going to be the two things right there that you're looking at.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. All right, Mark, we'll definitely give you a call after the show if you're open for some suggestions and then get you going.
Oh, sure am. Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
We'll
Great
follow
call.
up with
Thank
a
you
little
very
bit
much.
more. I'm excited for him. He said Lake Huron. I'll tell you, it's really the last affordable place here in Michigan. The reason why is the West Coast, the west side of Michigan, of course, Lake Michigan, a little bit more popular. But boy, oh boy, Lake Huron is a gem. It's unbelievable. More and more families are talking about, Kev, East Tawas, whether, Lexington, whatever you're working your way up there, anywhere towards Alpena, Escoda. I love it over there. And I had some time as a kid growing up there. And again, we live in the Great Lakes. That's what makes it all fun here.
We have some of the best vacation land in the whole country.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
I'll argue that to anyone.
That's such a great segue, Kevin. You want to know why?
Why?
I've got an article that says Michigan vacation homes gearing up for another hot summer.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
There it is. So, people, if you think that vacation homes aren't going to be going quickly, you're wrong. It's right here. We've got it documented. We know in this state, like Kevin said, this is what we do. We go up north. That's our thing. If you're from Michigan and somebody says, what do you do during the summer? Well, I go up north. Well, you go up north in the spring, summer, fall for hunting, and that's where we like to have our recreation in the state of Michigan.
Yeah, people don't understand it. You go to other states and you have conversations with all the things they do and the things they have to offer. And you say something like, no, I'm going to go up north this weekend. They're like, what are you even talking about? What on earth is up north? And you have to almost say to them, well, you have to come check it out. Like, you try to describe it to them and it's a complete, they don't understand it. They really, until you've experienced it, you don't understand it. And yes, the vacation market up there is going to continue to go up. I've got friends that sell up in that area, that sell up towards the Traverse City, kind of that northern pocket of Michigan. And it's even worse than what we're experiencing here. The great properties don't last long.
Oh, yeah.
And their prices are absolutely through the roof based on what they were even just 3 years ago.
Well, John's been lucky enough to have a place kind of mid up north, but he's one of our office experts on those kind of properties. And John, you see it every year. I mean, you see there's no lack of participation of people wanting to go up north and spend time.
No, in fact, there's less and less homes on the market up there because people want to keep them in the family, like Mark was saying. Yeah. And you're seeing more and more renovation being done to these homes, as we are. I mean, it's the type of, we've owned our place for 17 years. And you're just saying, okay, we're not getting rid of this thing. We're not thinking about moving, and we want this to be in the family for a long period of time. So doing more and more renovations to make it last longer.
I've called that legacy ownership. I mean, I don't know if it's actually called that, but I've called that legacy ownership for a long time, which is, you may want to live on, let's say, for example, the bluffs of Mackinac Island, a place that I go all the time. Good luck. Unless you're a legacy owner, you're not getting one of those houses ever. Those houses have been in families for 100+ years, and you're starting to see that now in other pockets, in the nice cities, in these big, cool, big view, bluff view type neighborhoods. These people are not probably ever going to sell these homes. They're going to get them and they're going to hand them down and hand them down and hand them down. And the people that I talk to that are purchasing them intentionally to do that. They like the idea of legacy ownership as using a vacation property, something they can enjoy with their family, like you were talking about earlier with the caller. What a beautiful thing to be able to provide to your family, to have something that you can go to and experience with each other and bring other family out there and grow your family legacy through a property.
Let's stick with this topic here, and we'll finish this segment with it too. I really like this idea because more and more families are getting together, your brothers and sisters, John, your parents, or whoever might be involved, and you're buying these things together. Now we get into the deed and making sure that we don't have trouble down the road. Again, if you have a falling out with a family member, it can get a little sticky. So we do like the idea that maybe it's just like two people on there. Maybe, the one couple and their parents own it. It gets a little sticky if you start bringing in too many families involved. So it can get real ugly real quick. We'll talk a little bit about deed things, adding someone to the deed and stuff like that, because that's how ownership works.
That's exciting stuff. Deed talk.
Deed ownership.
Deeds and ownership and all that good stuff.
That's
All
great.
right, we'll throw some other stuff in there.
We'll use mortgage terms like slappy. And
all the good stuff, Harry.
all the high risk words that we use in the mortgage banking industry.
248-539-9797. Keep it here.
We're brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Tigers-Orioles rained out yesterday. They'll do a split doubleheader today at the Comerica Park. First game 12-10, second game 5-10, both here at 97 on the ticket. Only tickets for the 5-10 game are good from last night. So if you got tickets from last night's rain out, you can use them at 5-10, but not at 12-10. Lions in the NFL draft taking Iowa tight end David Laporta at number 34. They trade up to take Alabama defensive back Brian Branch at 45. They grab quarterback Hendon Hooker of Tennessee in round 3. And at number 96, they get Kentucky defensive tackle Broderick Martin. Michigan State's Jaden Reed gets picked up by Green Bay in round 2. Michigan's Luke Schoonmaker to Dallas and DJ Turner to the Bengals in round 2. Kicker Jake Moody goes to San Francisco round 3, the first kicker to be taken in the first 3 rounds in over 20 years. 20 players taken for the Big Ten in the first 2 rounds. That is the most ever. Rounds 4 through 7 today. NBA playoffs, Kings beat the Warriors 118-99 at Golden State. They force a Game 7 in Sacramento. Lakers and the Grizzlies' dreams 125-85. That series is done. Stanley Cup playoffs, Stars 4, Wild 1. Stars win the series. Avs 4-1 over the Kraken. That ties the series at 3. Carolina 7, Boston 5. Believe it or not, there'll be a Game 7 featuring the Bruins in Carolina. The Bruins had the best record ever in the NHL regular season. Hurricanes 2-1 over the Islanders in OT. Hurricanes take the series 4-2. At the Ticket Update desk, I'm Jeff Lesson. For more 97.1 The Ticket or Odyssey.com.
All righty, we're firing up here. 9:31 here in Southeast Michigan. It's the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show in our 23rd year. Taking all your questions, 248-539-9797. Got a few of you guys on hold here. We're definitely trying to get through all these calls.
People must have liked our topics. We got our phones are blowing up.
Throwing
right
it
now.
up there. Hey, you know what? It's a vibe. This weather's bringing us down. People are looking for what's going to happen in 2 weeks here, Kev. They're going to hit the market. They're going to want to get up north, as Harry said. It's just the thing to do.
It's spring. The phones are firing up. It's time.
All right, let's go out to one of these calls here. We'll go, let's try Jerry first. Let's go to Jerry. Yeah, let's do that. Good morning, Jerry. You're live. Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, Mary. Good morning, Mary. What's happening? Hey, Mary, you on there? Mary. All right, put her back on hold. Let's try one more here. Good morning, Rick. Hey, what's up, Rick?
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, really good, sir.
Great topic, man. Sad thing, my mother passed away last month.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And thank you. And my brother, my sister, and myself, she quit claimed. She was in Lexington, Michigan, and she quit claimed the house to us like 3 years ago. And our question is, they're doing an estate sale this weekend, and then we're going to put it on the market. Do we have to pay capital gains on that, or is that an inheritance thing, or what happened since she did that?
Well, I mean, it depends on. So, are you guys on title individually, or did she quit claim it to a trust, or what?
No, she put it in. They just did a title search, and it's in all 3 of our names now.
So, I mean, you're going to have to really get with an accountant on
so
that.
she put it all in our names.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. So you're probably going to really want to get with your accountant on that, because I have a feeling that you're going to have some sort of capital gains on that, because you haven't owned the home as your primary residence for more than 3 years or 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
But I mean, definitely get with your financial advisor, accountant on that one to figure out where the home's in Lexington. You said.
Yeah, it's right by the harbor, downtown Lexington.
That's sweet.
Really great area.
Yeah.
I've been there like 30 years.
Why aren't you guys hanging on?
Yeah, you don't want it?
Well, you know what? I moved up to Higgins Lake. I'm from Birmingham, and my brother's he's over in Milford, and he's got his own cottage on White Lake. And my sister moved up to Frankfort, so we're kind of got our own thing going,
All right, if you don't want to do the Airbnb, Kev, he's definitely got something going on here. You know what? Look, we're sorry to hear your ma passed, but as John said, you're reaching out to your CPA. Quick call to a real estate attorney, and you're going to get all your answers pretty quickly. We'll give you some numbers to call, too, this week.
Was there an estate attorney associated? Did anybody draft attorney paperwork?
Yeah, who drafted that document? Who actually put that quit claim deed in play for you?
She got a local Mayberry attorney, I think, that did that,
All right. Well, tell Opie we said hello.
And here's how, though, when I want to get creative on this thing, I told my brother and sister, I said, since she quit claim deed it to us like in 2019 or whatever it was, maybe that's our base. Is that what the appraisal value would have been then, not in 1985?
potential. I mean, so this, without giving away again too much information on the radio,
Yeah, right.
we've got to be a little careful what we say here. I would really say what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to have some really good people in play. You're going to have a really, really good, so a little bit of counsel from an estate attorney. I would make sure that that's done. You need to have some legal looked into, a good CPA that understands the tax implications, because there's a couple different ways that you can go that I can think of right off the top of my head that have different tax implications. And if you are going to sell it, you're going to want to have a broker that understands how to sell a state-based property, because it's not going to. It may be a little more complicated than just stick a sign on the ground and take a buyer.
Rick, it's a great call. Really appreciate the call because it's going to spark some interest here. Other people get the information, get more professionals involved. Definitely good stuff here. Think about all that money you've put into it since you've owned it, though. All those write-offs you're going to be able to show your CPA.
If that happened, right, Harvey? Are you suggesting
Well,
that?
I'm suggesting it might have happened. I'm just giving other people clues here.
Or maybe it should happen.
It should happen. You can fix it up and get top dollar for the place, and of course that might come off and save
Listen,
you
if
some
it's
money.
in downtown Lexington on the harbor, Lake Huron, it's going to sell.
stuff, yeah.
Oh yeah,
know
it'll
that.
sell
It's going to
instant.
sell.
Yeah.
All right, 248-539-9797. Kevin Stewart joins us from Stewart Team Real Estate Partners, of course. So if you have any real estate questions, give us a call. Let's move off to these calls here. We've got Keith calling in. Hey, Keith, I knew it was you. Go ahead, Keith.
How you guys doing?
We're good, man. What's up?
Good. I'm looking for some advice on what I need to do. My mom passed in 17. I've been staying in the home, paying the notes in her name still, trying to figure out what do I need to do to get it off her name.
This thing's going to probate. Sounds like it's going to be going to probate, John.
What, Keith? You never switched the title over to yours. It's still been in her name.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're still paying a mortgage on it.
Yeah, continue to do that. Don't let the mortgage go sideways on you, because in the event once it comes out of probate, if you stop making the mortgage payment, then they can immediately go to foreclosure. And if the home goes into your name by the court's ruling, then all of a sudden that foreclosure goes on your record. Unfortunately, so
Yeah, no, we've been paying for 6 years. Haven't
Good.
been late on any payments, anything.
Keith, are you planning? I see on the call sheet here that it looks like you're planning on wanting to purchase it yourself and put it in your name.
Correct. That's basically what I'm looking to do. I think we've owed about $110,000 on it. I think it's probably worth about close to $3 million.
Oh, good.
All right. Are there any other heirs that could lay claim to it, or are you the sole heir of the property?
I've got a brother and 2 sisters, but that's not going to be a problem. I know
Okay.
everybody.
All right, cool.
They say
Yeah,
that.
it'll still have to go through the court system. It's going to have to go through some type of probate, unless there was paperwork that was.
Yeah, and
done
they're
in
going to have
place
to
ahead of
sign
time.
off on it and everything.
Yeah,
so.
they're going to have to sign off on your ability to purchase it. They're going to have to sign off on what you purchase it for, in the amount, and then there's a chance. I mean, the courts, they could always state that they have a claim to some sort of compensation as well.
All right. We're referring you. Keith, we'll give you a real estate attorney this week when we get off the air. We'll definitely refer you to some, or check one out on your own, and definitely find out the differences and things you can do. And we'll make sure that you're mortgageable. It's really key, John Kolb, too. Sometimes when you do that, you want to, I don't know if he's going to have to get a mortgage in his own name down the road, right?
it's very likely that once it goes through probate and the court rules who the heirs are, right?
Yeah. Right.
His brother and sisters say, okay, we don't want anything out of it, so they just sign off on it. He can take that property over as long as, like Harry said, there's no other outstanding claims that his mother was required to pay up on. He could take that property over and not have to pay anything out of pocket. He doesn't really have to purchase it. It in turn just turns into his property deeded from the court to him. But the mortgage company can then call the note due because she's no longer around. And
Right.
now you could probably work with them to do a modification to have him added, or depending upon what rate she's at, give us a call and we'll be able to see.
She's at 7%.
Yeah.
I just don't want to lose the house.
Keep making the payment. The most important thing you have to do right now is make the payment. Sometimes these things can be simple. Sometimes they're not so simple, depending on how much documentation is needed and what the requests are. And hopefully, I'm going to say this out loud, hopefully your siblings don't give you a problem. Because, see, the problem is sometimes if there's money involved, it gets a little bit more complicated. But you got to take it one step at a time. Take it slow, and it'll probably work out for you.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, these quick claim deeds really solve a lot of problems here. The most common scenario is where you might want to add someone to your deed. when you get married, for example. And of course, you might want to do that. The spouse automatically will be able to retain ownership. God forbid you're deceased or something like that. And again, it works for older people too, but estate planning is really crucial. I think the attorneys out there would like me to throw that out there. Get these estate plans done, get things in writing. Wills are very important. And then quick claim deeds really work very, very well. They're very inexpensive. That's the first start. I mean, if you have someone, there's not a lot of siblings involved, you can get the title companies to even meet your parents and make sure things are done accordingly and get these recorded quick claim deeds. Then you have ownership to the place. On the other end, John Kolb, doing a mortgage for a gentleman now, yeah, that debt counts against you once you put your name on a house. So maybe you're not responsible for the mortgage note, John, but definitely the summer and winter taxes and the homeowners. Those are now your debts.
Yeah, you have a personal title that follows you, basically, like your preschool teacher used to tell you. If you do that again, that's going to be on your permanent record. Well, if you have a
wow, I like
I'd like to see my permanent record.
Oh, geez,
I'd like to see it too.
No, but if you have a home that is entitled to you and you let it go, then that is a foreclosure on your personal title. And that is still a 7-year waiting period. We've seen the craziest stuff, even with timeshares. A Disney timeshare. You didn't want it anymore. You stop paying it's paid off in full. You just stop paying the taxes every year. Guess what? That's and they foreclose. That's a foreclosure. That's a foreclosure on your personal record that you will have to wait the waiting periods for.
All right, this show's flying by. It's 9:40 if you're just out listening to us.
Yeah, we got to get into the rates next segment. I promised in the third segment, so now we're going to be in the fourth segment. But John Kolb and I have to talk about rates when we come back.
All right, a ton of information here. Keep it on 97.1 The Ticket, 248-539-9797. We'll be back. Alrighty, we're back, 9:44 here. If you're just joining us, the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. Still tons of information to share with you, and we're taking those calls, 248-539-9797. All of a sudden, we got into talking about deeds and title, and there's reasons why, John Kolb, because you can pull cash out of these homes. Again, sometimes somebody who's on the title right now can't qualify, and they want to fix up the house. And now we can put someone else on the title to the house, and again, a conventional loan, just on primary residence, cash out refinance after 6 months being on the deed, 12 months on FHA transactions and stuff. Investments, I think, are 12 months. Yep. So there's some things going on here. And let me include this also, and we're going to go out to Ron, too, in a minute, is the FHA cash out. If you have a land contract, we haven't thrown this out there in a while, heads up, you got a land contract, you got to pay that land contract holder off. You can get an FHA mortgage, and again, these loan limits on FHA is up to 400, and my brain's got to work. 426,200, 426,300 maybe. I'll come back to that number. Lots of room where you can get an FHA mortgage, pay off the land contract, and use that money to fix up the house. So, we have an older homes here.
There's nuances to that.
Yes.
Though. The land contract has to be recorded, and you have to be paying on it for 12 months.
Yes.
Like you were all saying. So there's not every land contract can be used, an FHA loan to use to pull cash out. We got to take a look at it, and they get really, really in depth. I want to circle back real quick before we go to the call. Another thing when you're transferring title or thinking about transferring title, adding people to the deed. If I were to add Harvey to my deed right now, if I wanted to do anything with my home, I would have to always include Harvey in that transaction. He'd have to sign off on it, right? Which is nightmarish. I've worked with Harvey for 26 years.
How dare you? How dare you?
Right? But the better way to do something, and you talk to a financial planner about this, is putting it into a trust. Yeah. And then you can do whatever you want to do on your own, and you're designating as part of the trust who your trustees and who your beneficiaries are going to be, and they don't have to be included in anything that you do until you've passed.
Yeah, trust gives you.
I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, trust is a vehicle. It gives you more flexibility to call your own shot.
Right. Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about probate.
Yeah, we recommend trust all the time. So when you're talking to an estate attorney, will and trust. I think for most people, the majority of individuals out there, it makes a lot of sense, especially depending on the stage of life that you're in. But I think they have a lot of advantage and very little disadvantage.
Yep.
All right, we'll go to this call here and tons of stuff. The deed stuff just brings everyone's interest up. All right, hey, Ron, good morning and welcome to our show. What's happening?
Good morning, gentlemen. So I sold the property up in All Graves, Tawas.
Yep.
And I got in right after when they were going crazy on the market last year, June 30th. And like you guys were saying, real estate up there went crazy. And I was looking at agents up there. But when I thought about this, I'm like, no. I want someone in Fenton. Can I use his name?
Oh, sure.
Whatever.
Go ahead. Give a
it's
plug.
material, sure.
Yeah, Jeff Zielinski.
Okay, hey.
He owes you money. Guy owes me money.
Go ahead, Ron.
Personal friend. So anyway, he's like, Ron, money's not coming from up here. It's coming from down there. Down in this area. Because, they were flooding the market. People wanted these houses. Long and short was, bought the house, bought my ex-girlfriend out. Quick claimed it to me. Sold it 2 years later at $155, and I paid $67. So I had a quick claim. So it was not a problem. Now I'm looking at another residence up there. And I'm being thrown about Ladybird.
Ah, the good old Ladybird deed. But you haven't bought the property yet. What are you talking about Ladybird yet for?
Because that my daughter's. I don't want to put her on a deed.
Right.
Okay. Just like you guys said, responsible back and forth, anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Have you
closed on the property yet, Ron?
The one I want to purchase?
Yes.
They're fiddle-farting around.
Fiddle-fart. That's a better word than slappy. All right, so here's what you got to worry about. First and foremost, you're going to worry about the Ladybird deed after you close on the purchase of the home, right? A quick background on what a Ladybird deed is. Basically, upon your death, you're deeding that the home over to whoever you've designated, right? The deed is recorded.
Your daughter, right?
Right.
Transfer. Right. It's almost like a TOD, yeah.
Right. So yeah,
yes.
But the deed is recorded prior to as soon as you fill it out. It's part of record. Right. Everybody knows what a Ladybird deed is. You don't have to do anything with your daughter if you want to refinance it, whatever. It's just part of that. So that's just a way to circumvent probate as well.
Probate.
Correct.
Good.
And it doesn't. How long would she have to, move everything around into her name? You know what I mean?
Well, it goes into her name right away upon your death. That's what the Lady Bird deed does.
Correct. So let's say she's like, I can't get financed yet. I got to wait a year.
She should not have to. There's delayed financing guidelines that we have. That one of those are inheritance, where you don't have to wait. Now she might not be able to pull cash out right away, but she'll be able to get a mortgage in her name right away.
And the other thing is, the financial institution really isn't searching. You know what I mean? So she's got time to play, correct?
Hey, Ron, you're getting a little deeper here. I only got an hour show. I like where you're going with this.
This was a Ron show brought to you by Jeff Zelinsky. That's how this
There you
works.
go, guys. Have a great morning.
We're going to follow up with you off the air.
We
I like this
appreciate
stuff,
it.
though. Hey, look, we opened up a can of worms here with this deed stuff.
So I know.
And it's good stuff.
All right, it's deep mortgage talk that you have to interpret, and there's
it's
a lot of
important
legal
stuff.
ramifications, and it's extremely important, and you have to do it the right way. But coming up, speaking of doing things the right way, John Cole, May 2nd, 3rd, the Federal Reserve is going to meet, and they're going to talk about raising rates again. When we say rates, they're going to raise the Fed funds rate. That is the rate that banks, overnight lending, the Fed lends to institutions. Now, they've been on this binge, last 10 rate hikes, all that kind of thing. When is it going to stop? John and I agree it never should have gotten to this point, but we do believe that there is a case that the Fed believes that they need to raise it another quarter to a half. We're betting on a quarter. But here's the key thing, everybody. After this, it should stop. It should subside, and then what we could see is that toward the end of the summer and into the fall, later in the year, that you could see an easing. You could see the Fed start reducing. They could start cutting the Fed funds rate. Translated, what does this do? And here's a case for cash out refinance transactions. You understand that when the Fed started raising rates, your credit card interest went from 14 to 20%. Your car loans went up.
Triple.
The average car note went up double. There are more people, 17% of the population are paying over $1,000 for a car payment. So it's not only your house, it's your car and your credit cards. So there is a case for a cash out refi to pay off, and that's here, I'll go ahead and say this, a cash out refinance transaction to go ahead and pay off high interest debt. Because if you were paying 14% and you're paying 20% now, that's a jump of 6%, and mortgage rates doubled. They went up from 3.5 to 6.5. So listen, your credit card balances are rolling over every month. You got to stop it. You got to tear up every credit card except for maybe 2. And then don't run the debt up again. So that's what's going to happen this week. The Federal Reserve will, I'm predicting, and if I'm wrong, it's great, like John says. It's my hedge. I think that they're going to go ahead and bump it up another quarter. But then as you get into the late summer, early fall, you could see them come back down. So, Kevin, lastly, rates are not driving the home market. Supply and demand is driving the home market. They're not buying houses because rates are high. They're not buying houses because they can't find a house.
Yeah, they're doing it because there's just not enough supply. It's a supply and demand issue. That's
not
the
a
pinch
rate
that we're
issue.
feeling. It has nothing to do with the rates.
Right.
Everyone's blaming it on the rates, thinking that rates are the problem.
Because they don't understand what's going on in the economic dynamic.
Correct. What rates are doing is they're creating customer perception. They're driving customer fear. They're driving the consumer to be concerned because, yes, now they have $1,000 car payment, which they used to not have.
Right.
They're acutely aware of all the monies that are going out and the cost of money right now
And
is
then they're
high.
saying they can't afford a house.
And then they're saying they can't afford a house.
Right.
But that's not the reason the housing market's slow. It's or we'll not say slow, where it's at right now is because supply and demand, the market's strong. Supply and demand, that's why housing prices are going to go up. It's not going to crash. People think it's going to crash because of these other things. It's not. There's no chance that happens. Supply and demand dictates that it will continue to go up.
Right. It's not going to crash because there isn't anything to crash with.
Correct.
Right. There's no supply.
There's nowhere else to
And
go.
So stop thinking that
I got nowhere else to go.
Right. So stop thinking that these houses are just going to bust, and the values are going to drop down to $60,000 and blah blah. There's nowhere else to go.
It's not going to happen. That's happened once in our lifetime, and we're not going to see it again. No different than we're not going to see 3% again.
And
there's
there are too
certain
many
things that
people
just happen
buying.
once in a
There are
lifetime.
too many homeowners that are 34 years old out there that are going to buy homes.
Right.
And what drives interest rates is the inflation factor. Okay, in an inflationary state, rates go up. As soon as inflation settles down, rates come back down. It's been that way since the beginning of time, not because the rates are high because of inflation, no other reason, and there's not going to be a housing crash because there's a lack of housing.
Well, and
everybody's got equity.
It's still price band based. I mean, the only spots in which we're seeing inventory come and sit is in the high price points, right? In our area out in Rochester, Oakland Township, when you exceed the $1 million threshold, it does take more time. Why? Because the general person who's spending $1 million is very, very acutely aware of their money and acutely aware of the cost of that money. And there's a big differential when you're getting a jumbo loan and there's a difference of a couple points. That makes a huge difference in payment. So there's less and less people right now that can afford $1 million to $2 million, right, than last year. That was a much simpler purchase for a lot of people. So we're seeing a little bit of slowing in that. But when you're talking the mid ranges, the 300 to 500 to 600, we can sell them as fast as we can find them. I mean, it is incredible the amount of demand that's still out there for the majority of the housing market in Metro Detroit.
Kevin, you're a planner, and that's a key word here again. And more of the families out there that are buying, because of the way the market is, you need to get more information. John, I'm seeing it with my younger families, the ones that are really qualified. They're sitting down with me. We're having lots of conversations. They're not scared when they finally get the purchase agreement accepted. So it's very important you get your education level up. And music says that we've got to almost get out of here.
Kevin Stewart, smart guy, real estate, Rochester, the man, the myth,
guy,
the
real
legend.
That's a good way to say it. I like
Team
it.
Real Estate Partners in Rochester.
Yep,
You can always
thanks,
find
guys.
Kevin Stewart. Hey, Kev, always a great job, and thank you.
Yep.
Thank
Thanks,
you
guys.
for a great show. Listen, everybody, enjoy the weekend. Everybody be safe out there. And listen, we need a Tiger win. The Lions are drafting players. We got to have it going on right now.
For sure. Here we got Pat Caputo coming up. Keep it here on 97.1 The Tickets. Call Capital Mortgage Funding, 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We'll see you next Saturday.